kill the lights. They might shoot at us.
Astagfirullahaladzim! Astagfirullahaladzim! Apa itu? Apa itu? Buaya! Hai! Hai!
There's that noise again now.
We've all watched cartoons growing up of characters happily going camping, sometimes alone, sometimes accompanied by family or friends. Turns out, though, this wholesome outdoor activity isn't always sunshine and rainbows. There are times when things take an eerie, possibly paranormal or at least dangerous turn, like these 6 incidents. Gunshots fired at American campers during the night.
We're in the middle of flipping nowhere. You can't even see nothing. You can see the glow of Bend, I think, back
I don't
up.
think it comes through on the camera, but over there you can see the glow of Bend.
Yeah.
And over there you can see one lone little,
Yeah.
2 actually.
Yeah, you can't
That
see
looks
shit.
like fire.
It was a cold, snowy January in 2021 when a pair of friends went out camping around 17 miles from Bend in Oregon, USA. This is where they were shot at repeatedly, putting their relaxing trip under the threat of mortal danger. It's a popular area for this outdoor activity, having lots of camping sites, so it's not like these 2 men chose a faraway, isolated, or potentially dangerous area. They were thorough as they built a pop-up for the night about 7 miles away from Paulina Lake. These campers were evidently experienced, looking forward to a calm night of sitting by the fire. It was around 11:30 when things started going in an unexpected direction. They heard repeated loud sounds, but they weren't worried just yet. As seasoned campers, they knew lots was going on even at night. And then they heard it loud and clear. Those were definitely gunshots and nearby too.
They're right there, dude.
The mere idea that a simple camping location isn't even secure from the threats of other people is chilling, especially considering the time of night. Proactively, the 2 started taking measures to protect themselves. While they did come prepared, they still weren't expecting this kind of danger in a camping location. No wild animals, no forest fires, or any natural calamities, but gunshots. Once again, they were shot at, and this time it was extremely close. Someone was actively picking on them for no clear reason, making the situation all the more disturbing. Their attackers were obviously being cruel on purpose. The sheer panic in what should have been a pleasantly uneventful time was jarring. It almost felt like they were being hunted or targeted instead of being passively warned off. In fact, that was exactly what was happening. Their attackers were specifically going after them.
I'm working on it. See you in the morning.
Who's that stumbling around in the dark?
They were in disbelief about what had happened, but managed to laugh it off while recognizing the seriousness of the event. It was fortunate that these men were able to keep their heads throughout the situation instead of reacting aggressively, which could have exacerbated the problem to fatal danger.
We got sandwiches.
Terrifying noises in broad daylight while bivvy bagging. A man went out bivvy bag camping on a pleasant summer day, planning to enjoy his solo activity. Little did he know, his casual adventure would be destroyed by an unsettling presence. But before that interruption happened, the location he chose was a well-lit area with open grassy lands as well as trees to settle underneath.
I'm not going to be set up and then an hour later I'm having to move. They can get in here. And I'm going to be honest with you.
He settled down. The area was lit by the sunset, calm, and not a single clue could be detected that something disturbing might happen soon. And actually, the area he chose already had signs of an old fire, meaning others have camped here before, and successfully too.
Yeah, I had one person saying, you must be making hundreds of thousands a year off of YouTube.
But this happy camper didn't have long before he'd be jolted out of his immersive peace. There were footsteps crunching through the grass and twigs, and they were headed towards him.
Camping is really good.
Although he was now on guard, he made a logical assumption that it might be a wild animal, but the footsteps were too heavy to be a critter, and the lack of hesitance was too strong for it to be a human. His discomfort quickly grew. Even as he called out to the sound, there was no response, and neither did the footfalls stop.
But it's all right, that. But when you're in this situation, you hear something a bit creepy. It can freak you out, and because you're by yourself.
Assuming it was a one-off situation and that the crisis had passed, he settled down again and carried on. But his peace was still short-lived. He heard the noise again, and this time it was accompanied by shuffling, still undeterred by his yells. As night fell, the camper couldn't help but express how perturbed he was. He'd experienced the shock of the unknown, and he had an entire night left to face in these eerie woods.
I can't stay here. I'm too unsettled. I'm nervous. I've done camping like this a load of times. I think I'm gonna go find somewhere.
Camper stalked by mysterious man on Appalachian Trail. In 2021, a day before Thanksgiving, a man went on a hike and decided to camp on a trail in the Appalachian Mountains. It was near his house in Virginia, so it's clear he hadn't made a risky decision. However, this short adventure of his was plagued by sinister things. Strange writings, a trail of dead animals, and some other hikers who seemed to fear a certain man. It was the recipe for a camping trip that could have resulted in tragedy.
So the hike's been awesome so far. I mean, I've only been out for about half hour. River behind me, really pretty day. As I was walking up, I saw some trash in the trail.
Shortly into the hike, he came across something deeply disturbing. Trash, empty bottles with writing all over them. It was unnerving to say the least, considering what kind of person would be writing unusual song lyrics all over items they discard on a trail.
Hangman is coming down from the gallows. Song lyrics.
If you thought the trash was disturbing, you're going to be shocked now that he stumbled across a stone that no longer boasted lyrics, but rather something that could be interpreted as a warning or threat. This was followed by even more objects like rocks, slips of paper, and plastic, all with cryptic writing scribbled all over. And finally, the first dead animal of the trail.
Dead duck here. A very long note.
As he headed towards the shelter, he encountered two hikers who seemed concerned about a certain man, the one who was leaving those writings. The interaction made him decide against camping in that area.
These two women were hiking in the opposite direction. They had a little dog with them. They asked if I had seen the guy who was leaving the notes. I said he has a campsite down by the river because I could hear the fire going. I could see where his tarp was set up.
After making himself comfortable in his new shelter, which was 2 miles away from the mysterious man's location for the night, the camper decided to go and check the shelter's log, which contains light messages left behind by other campers. To his shock, though, he spotted pages full of chillingly familiar handwriting.
Someone left some PBRs here, I guess. It's nice and little trail magic. Some comics and writing and stuff.
Turns out, those notes hardly made sense. The writer talked about being arrested, fiction, politics, but none of those things made sense when viewed cohesively. It was far from anything someone would expect on a hiking trail or camping shelter, and that made it all the more spooky. He thought that was the end of it. He was far away from that guy and totally safe in this shelter. But then another surprise greeted him, an ominous message in the same handwriting.
Listening to all the sounds, and then I heard somebody down by the shelter. So at first I had to convince myself it wasn't what I thought I heard, but it definitely was somebody down there.
warning that the dead can walk and talk. Even when this camper tried to get some rest, he was jolted to attention by someone, most likely the cryptic man now stalking him, lingering by the shelter. In the end, the hiker had no choice but to leave much earlier than planned. Indonesian campers encounter jungle horror. Earlier this year, 2 Indonesian men headed to a thick forest for a casual camping experience. One that, not long after, turned into a horror story.
Astagfirullahaladzim! Astagfirullahaladzim! Apa itu? Buaya! Ay! Ay! Astagfirullahaladzim!
Although they'd spent the day very actively, their entire trip was ruined by a short series of events that night. They also fished for their food for the night, and then proceeded to meticulously prepare it, utterly unaware of the danger that awaited them. Then, finally, after having their meal, the 2 sat in their shelter and relaxed, but that's when the horror struck.
Apa itu? Ini emang agak apa nih? Apa tuh bunyi tadi tuh? Tengok merinding dulu kok. Tengok merinding. Diam.
The one who spotted it could do nothing but yell in terror, unable to calm down until his friend distracted him. Shell-shocked, he did his best to convince his friend about what he saw, but considering how peaceful and seemingly safe their location was, the friend seemed far from convinced, only half-heartedly looking around as if to placate his panicking companion. They mustered the courage to get up and look around, but that was exactly when the danger returned full force, triggering their flight response.
Ayo kita mau goreng cabai. Ini namanya cabai goreng. Goreng cabai. Asik mas bro. Diaduk-aduk.
Now, the previously disbelieving friend was the speedier one in their race back inside the shelter. All they could do was stay shut inside and recite prayers, unable to fathom what they'd encountered, but the threat hadn't subsided. There was still another scare in store for these 2 campers. They kept repeating that they saw a light, which makes the situation all the more mysterious in the end. Peaceful camper locked inside by malicious strangers. In 2024, a camper took his stealth van out into the woods for an outdoor adventure.
And looking at it, it looks fine at the moment, but as soon as the sun starts to go down, I think it might get a little bit creepy around here.
And while he was sure that spending the night alone in an eerie place would be the spookiest part of his camping, he would actually face something entirely out of the blue. He would get locked into his own vehicle by some passers-by, putting his security in jeopardy. He peacefully returns to his van after taking an uneventful walk and fixes up a drink and a meal for himself. It's not too long before he's in bed, ready to end the day. The true disturbing event takes place sometime around 3 a.m. when he sensed some people near his van driving around and then leaving. He finds it suspicious but chooses to let it go for the time being.
I was just pulled up, and it sounds like they're walking around the van.
When he wakes up in the morning, he doesn't suspect a thing. He's calm and ready to face the day. But then he learns in a sick surprise about what had really transpired at 3 a.m. He'd been locked inside by those malicious strangers, uncaring about human decency and possibly attempting to steal from him.
So there's obviously just people wanting to f*** about and just be funny, I guess, but how dangerous is that, locking someone in their van?
Camping in Judy Woods goes wrong at night. A frequent camper, accompanied by his dog in July 2022, revisited a favorite camping site of his. He'd already been here several times, but this trip in particular terrified him, and for good reason. The whole night he was there. He was haunted by persistent noises that couldn't have come from any average wild animal or person. However, his path there was nothing but tranquil, not at all suggesting the kind of horrors he'd have to face at night. Arranging a comfortable hammock for himself, he settled down for a while to rest. His peace, though, was interrupted almost immediately. Odd noises sounded around his tent, making him alert. Branches were snapping, and even stronger cracking sounds followed. It's unknown what was causing those noises, and they were unusual enough to make a seasoned camper and his dog so defensive. Later, the sounds returned, and they were extremely close, reasonably terrifying the man and dog. Wisely, the man judged that the creature might be attracted to his tent because of the light, and plunged himself into complete darkness. But somehow, the creature outside began grunting and gurgling. He went outside to check and was scared beyond his wits. A strange flash was spotted, flying away from the campsite. The camper had to convince himself that he might have been mistaken. But he was far from mistaken. The noises returned, forcing him to call out a warning, but to no end, because they showed no signs of stopping, effectively ruining his camping night. Camping is among the most benign activities, but these 6 events challenged that idea, revealing the dangerous side of this beloved outdoor hobby. If you appreciated the video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and tell us your thoughts in the comments. Is camping a good idea? Until our next video, stay safe and stay tuned.